So how come you're not gonna be talking about the Switch OLED model?
Because I don't want to.
But it's a new Switch. It has new stuff. You like new stuff. Everybody loves new stuff. Who doesn't like new stuff? It's literally like the coolest thing. Everybody's talking about it now. So come on, talk about it. Talk about it. I know you want to talk about it, so talk about it.
Yeah, but it's literally the same thing as a regular Switch. It just has a bigger screen and just sleeker design and all that kind of jazz. It's nothing of a new quote-unquote Switch, so I'm not gonna bother talking about it.
Yeah, man, that's exactly why. Boost the algorithm. Talk about it. A lot of people are talking about it, whether good or bad. Well, mostly bad, to be quite honest with you, but they're at least talking about it. The algorithm's gonna be in our favor if we do it. So come on, talk about the Switch OLED model instead of whatever this video is gonna be about. Come on, please. Can you please do it, man? Please.
Okay. First of all, too many people are already talking about it, so there's obviously no point in me trying to incorporate it into the algorithm. Second, I don't even want to waste my time talking about the Switch or whatever it is, the OLED model, new Nintendo Switch. I'm not going to bother wasting my time with that. And third, we need more Zelda content in the channel. And this one is going to be a banger. This one is going to break the boundaries of our entire civilization here. So these are the three reasons why I'm not going to be doing a video on the Switch OLED model, whatever you named it. Okay, I'm not doing it.
Okay, fine. I concede. I give up. I do all that kind of stuff. All right, fine. So you're that committed to making a Zelda video, huh? Like you really want this to be a banger of sorts. Like you really are that committed to it?
Yeah, I'm committed to breaking that Zelda curse in our channel. We will make a banger Zelda video, and this one will be the one.
Well, have fun with it then. I give you much success and blessing and all that kind of stuff. I hope this turns out well. So
you're not getting the bat. You're not getting the bat. Don't try and pander to me, all right? I see the look on your face. You are not getting the bat. You are at least 2 more weeks away, or 3. I don't even care. The point is, you're not getting the bat, and we're doing a Zelda video, and we're rolling the intro. All right? That's it. Stop pandering. Let's just start. Let's just start it. First, I take away his bat. Then he starts being more annoying than he used to be. Then he starts imitating people as if he's Loki or whatever it is. And now he's trying to pander so he can have his bat privileges back. But you know what? I'm not going to let that happen. Nintendo Ninja's going to suffer the consequences. And just because of that, we're not going to talk about a Switch OLED model video. We're not going to be doing that. Okay, maybe just a little bit of dedication about the Switch OLED model, at least before we talk about what in reality we're supposed to be talking about for this video. So a little quick 1-2 of the Switch OLED model. I know I'm late to the punch on that one, but it looks cool, sleek design, LAN port available now. I guess that's where the $50 is worth, and that's part. OLED screen, bigger screen. Switch Pro guys, yeah, this one was one big middle finger up your ass, wasn't it, huh? But in all, I really don't care. Even though I did make a video about a Switch Pro, I still knew that Nintendo wasn't even going to actually have the balls to actually make an enhanced version. We should all know Nintendo's marketing, like their marketing at this point, their advertising. We're still going to buy this even though it's $50 worth more and blah, 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 things like that. Whatever. But Metroid Dread is coming along with it. There might be a bundle pack with it. But all in all, that's all I'm going to be talking about. In actuality, though, we're going to be talking about Zelda, and more specifically, whether or not we're going to get possible Switch ports for Twilight Princess and Wind Waker. And I understand that the time and place upon which this video is being uploaded is basically almost a week before the official release date of the Switch port of The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. And for many of you, you guys are probably thinking, oh, this is a retaliation against the Skyward Sword game, that he doesn't want this. He's not going to buy the Skyward. I'm buying the Skyward Sword game. I enjoyed that era of Zelda. I think that was the peak 3D Zelda, but all in all, that's honestly debatable. It depends on who you ask. A lot of people prefer that Twilight Princess was the peak of 3D Zelda. Others say that Wind Waker was, but all in all, we all know and we all agree that we want Switch ports for both of those games. So an overview so far before we do dive into the question of should we expect Switch ports of Twilight Princess or Wind Waker down the line? Are they even going to be a thing in the future? All that kind of jazz. Let's talk about the overview of Zelda so far, considering that this was the 35th anniversary of Zelda, and I've stated that numerous times throughout all of my attempts of making good Zelda videos, and hopefully this one breaks the curse. But all in all, Zelda is on a pretty good, playing field around the Nintendo roster, around the Nintendo, as a whole, because we're not only having Skyward Sword HD, coming next week on July the 17th. We're also getting Breath of the Wild coming soon next year. And there's also a bunch of other additional stuff, such as like a Game & Watch style thing of the original Zelda, and a bunch of other cool accessories as well, like the Joy-Cons for Skyward Sword and things like that. So all in all, the future of Zelda is pretty nice. Oh, and there's also the DLC for Age of Calamity coming soon as well. So yeah, things are looking pretty good for Zelda at the moment, and it's pretty nice that there's a lot of love still for Zelda, and much like how there's a lot of love also for Metroid as well. And as I mentioned, I am definitely looking forward for Metroid Dread. I cannot wait for that game. I'm really enjoying the Metroid franchise, the 2D Metroid franchise, and I just cannot wait to talk a little bit more further about those games down the line. But this is Zelda we're talking about. This is the overview so far, and things are looking pretty cool in terms of gameplay, structure, and overall future plans for the franchise. Alright, so now on to the good stuff of the video, and that is whether or not we should be expecting a Twilight Princess or a Wind Waker HD port, or both, for the Nintendo Switch. And the reason why I want to bring this question up is because the fact that Skyward Sword is getting a remastered and it's being ported to the Switch, it kind of begs the question of, are we to expect other Wii U games or even more Wii games to be ported over? And with the idea of Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, specifically those two, is because since they were also ported to the Wii U, with Wind Waker having an entirely remastered beyond like what the original was in terms of graphics, textures, and things like that. And then the same with Twilight Princess, where there was an HD port of that as well for the Wii U. So obviously asking the question of should we expect them to be ported is a given one, thanks to Skyward Sword now being ported and officially releasing next week. And so I personally believe that there is a chance for Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, and I really am looking forward to if the Zelda franchise decides to do that, because at this point the Wii U is on its last dying breath, and we all know that to be true. There really is no point owning a Wii U console unless you are that adamant about Virtual Console. And that's honestly the real reason why we all have a Wii U at our household at this point, is because of Virtual Console, and it's because the Nintendo Switch isn't really giving us Virtual Console at the moment. And when they do that, the Wii U is officially dead. But all in all, that's for like an entirely different video. That's like an entirely different subject. With Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, they should be a given in terms of Wii U ports. There's plenty of Wii U ports already added to the Nintendo Switch roster of games. There's already a bunch of them ready to go, remastered, all that kind of stuff. So it's very interesting that Zelda has barely seen that spotlight, and also with Star Fox, but like I said, that's an entirely different subject. But with Zelda here, it really took them that long of a time to port Skyward Sword into the Switch. Out of basically the 5 years coming in hot next year, the 4.5 years, more accurately speaking, of the Nintendo Switch's lifespan, there really hasn't been much, momentum with Zelda. There's been a lot of momentum with, other franchises, and then obviously there was new IPs and new stuff. And yes, I may be contradicting myself here, saying that, oh, but look at Breath of the Wild, look at Age of Calamity. Yes, but that's only 2 Zelda games. Oh, and Link's Awakening. That's 3 Zelda games. And Mario, there's been plenty of stuff for Mario, from Tennis Aces or Aces Tennis, I don't know how it's pronounced, Super Mario Golf Superstars, whatever, Super Mario Party, Odyssey, 3D World with Bowser's Fury. Like, you gotta 3D All-Stars. You gotta understand my point here as well. Much like the same point that I made with Metroid and the Metroid Prime trilogy, saying that, oh, they should be ported as well. And the same argument should be well-rounded here, because Zelda needs more spotlight. Mario, yes, it's the mascot. I understand all of that. Yes, he needs to at least have 1 or 2, 3 spin-off games and a main title game. I understand that. But like Metroid, Zelda released at the same year as Mario did and became one of the most iconic franchises in gaming, period. There is no YouTuber out there that does gaming content who at least has at least acknowledged the Triforce icon, the Master Sword, the Hylian Shield, Link's costume, or at least have a basic understanding as to who the hell Zelda is. So clearly there is good enough reason to say, listen, Nintendo, we see that you are willing to port Skyward Sword. Port Twilight Princess and Wind Waker as well, and trust me, the Switch will bolster up in sales from that point. Because that's another thing also. I understand that yes, Skyward Sword was ported first before Twilight Princess and Wind Waker because it's the lesser of the 3 of that era. I understand that. Yes, on a technicality, Skyward Sword is not as good as Wind Waker, is not as good as Twilight Princess, and it's not as good as obviously all the other Zelda games that came before it. Well, technically it could be better than that, but you get my point here. There were a lot of things that made it too easy, and it just didn't feel like a proper Zelda game. You were basically being handhelded throughout most of the adventure, and you had Fi, which was just but with Twilight Princess and Wind Waker being ported, it would show that Nintendo cares about those games as well. And yes, I understand also that Twilight Princess, specifically Twilight Princess, got ported at least 2 times. It was originally for the GameCube, then it was ported to the Wii, and then it was ported to the Wii U. So if we're being brutally honest here, I am surprised that at this point it never even got the Switch port treatment. I am very surprised, but I'm not mad about it either. Like, I'm just like, how is that Nintendo hasn't really done Twilight Princess that dirty yet? Like, but what I'm trying to say here is that the time is now, and with the fact that there's a Switch OLED model now coming soon on October 8th, I think it's a pretty good idea to start porting all of the Wii U stuff, and also Virtual Console. But like I said, another video, another time. But Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, they deserve some spotlight as well. So my final reason, and I think this is the most important reason as to why I want Twilight Princess and Wind Waker to be ported over to the Switch, is obviously because I want new players to try that peak 3D Zelda. Yes, I understand that on the 3DS scale we have Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. I also understand that. But those are remakes to the original games. Their difficulty may not even be the same as the original Nintendo 64. So with that argument, it won't really benefit newcomers as to like, oh, what was the epitome of 3D Zelda games? And Twilight Princess and Wind Waker are good examples of what was the peak of 3D Zelda. And as someone who really enjoyed those, and more so Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, because Twilight Princess was not only my first Zelda that I've ever beaten, period, it was also the Zelda game that spoke the most to me. And I think a lot of people also have that feeling with Twilight Princess. It was a very dark Zelda game, but it was also a very amazing one. It had the best, to me, that was the best Link as well. That Link was just was like from humble beginnings to being the true hero of that era, the hero of Twilight, as he is known. And with Wind Waker's case, the same thing happened as well. And like how expressive he was, how he was like so curious and so adventurous, and he was willing to save his sister, and that was literally the whole premise of the story of Wind Waker. And it's just that when you compare Twilight Princess and Wind Waker to Skyward Sword, you understand why a lot of people want Twilight Princess and Wind Waker to be ported over. It had marvelous set pieces of story, of character interactions. It had some of the best and unique level designs that I've seen. And yes, to kind of give some backlash with Twilight Princess, there was some linear stuff with it. The temples weren't really that, you know, complex and things like that, but they were still good. There were still good puzzles to discover. There were still good, you know, things of that, and just the atmosphere of those games is what really brought Zelda to a bigger market. You know, obviously Zelda has been around since 1986, and it deserves a lot more, especially with the Switch. And seeing how Breath of the Wild as well is also changing the whole dynamic of 3D Zelda, it would be amazing to see. And this is also the same thing with Skyward Sword as well, since it's basically the first of the three that is going to be ported over. Obviously, down the line, Nintendo will port Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, hopefully in next year, or maybe in 2023, or somewhere down the Switch's lifespan. But what I want is to let people be reminded of what was Zelda. Because another thing also is that Breath of the Wild is changing the whole dynamic, as I said. It is changing the way we perceive Zelda now, the way we're perceiving exploring Hyrule, the way we interact with Hyrule, and the overall basis of what Zelda is going to be moving forward. Because clearly, with the success that Breath of the Wild brought, that's what made them to making a sequel. And seeing how the sequel is highly anticipated because Breath of the Wild was so good, it could change the very foundation of Zelda. And so with Twilight Princess and Wind Waker being ported over, much like Skyward Sword, it would tell new players that this is the Zelda that we grew up with. This is our Zelda. This is our Link. This was our adventure. This was our time to be the hero of that game. And it would be really nice to see new players who may have never really experienced those games, or at least never fully appreciated those games until they tried out Breath of the Wild, until they realized how much they changed the gameplay, the atmosphere of Zelda as a whole. And then they'll look back and be like, yes, I would very much want a Twilight Princess port. I would very much want to play that game. I want to see why people hold it to such a high regard. I want to see why people hold Wind Waker to such a high regard. I want to see what made Zelda the way that it is now, and how we can do that is by at least telling Nintendo that we would want this to be a reality. All in all, that's enough of my rambles as usual. Hopefully down the line, there does end up being some news about Twilight Princess and Wind Waker being ported over. Hopefully, with Skyward Sword, it becomes such a massive success that Nintendo will then decide to port over the rest of the Zelda games. Maybe even do a little bit more remakes, such like what they did with Link's Awakening. But that's on an entirely different discussion, ladies and gentlemen. I know I've hinted to a lot of possible videos in the future. So by all means, hold that against me when the time comes. That way, if I don't have any ideas, I know exactly which video to look back to and be like, oh, I can do a video on that. Oh, I'll do a video of that. Oh, look, I'll do a video. So, but my point stands. If we should expect something, I hope to expect something. Also lower your expectations. Thankfully, the Switch OLED model did that for us. And that should be the same thing with other stuff moving forward. Nintendo is just an interesting thing to kind of like try and uncover secrets to, things like that. But hopefully we do see something of the sort soon. And I know I'm dragging this out already, but just let me know what your thoughts are on Skyward Sword. On like, are you excited to try out Skyward Sword? I'm excited to try out Skyward Sword and see what they've changed, the dynamic of it, how it's going to be played out on the Switch. If you're not excited for Skyward Sword, also by all means respectfully talk about why you aren't really expecting Skyward Sword, why you're not really in the mood to play Skyward Sword that's coming out next week. And also, do you agree or disagree if we should have or expect ports of Twilight Princess Wind Waker down the line? All that kind of stuff, just comment down below. Let's get the discussions going. Let's try and boost this up. And let's just have fun with this one as usual. But you know how I like to end these things as well. Keep being awesome. Keep spreading love and kindness to the world. I know you guys can. I know I can. And let's make sure to do it as much as we can. And just keep improving ourselves. Keep spreading love and kindness. And just know that I love you guys forever and always to 120. And I hope to see you all in that next magnificent, marvelous, spectacular, amazing, beautiful, and sexy video. I hope this video does well. Yeah, me too. I hope this becomes one of the biggest ones ever in our algorithm, in our channel, whatever it is that, you know, society dictates or whatever. I just hope this does a really good job. Yep. Yep. You're still not getting the bat though. Just letting you know. You're still not getting it. Oh, come on, man. I need that bat. I really need that bat. That bat's like my companion of sorts, man. You don't understand how important that bat is to me. It's a part of who I am. It's my identity. It is part of the Nintendo Ninja starter pack. I need that bat, man. I really need it. So you could beat us up with it as usual? No, and no. You're gonna be suffering for your consequences, for your actions, all that kind of stuff. And I'm gonna enjoy every single moment of it. And you wanna know why? Because you deserve it. So leave, and you're not expecting that bat anytime soon.